we're going to do a recap of CinemaCon. We're not going to do the whole recap because I actually did um, Monday and Tuesday. We did a couple of the stories. So we're going to touch upon exactly what's happened in the last 48 hours. Today is the end of CinemaCon. Today is, the wrap-up day for everybody. So it's basically there's no major studios doing anything or whatever. So we had a lot of James Gunn news and our first reactions of Guardians of the Galaxy in. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. So let's just dive right in. So in the last 48 hours, okay, we've had a lot of trailers that are seen and not seen. So one of the trailers that actually was seen, okay, the other day was for Transformers. And we finally got another taste of these robotic giants. And I gotta say, I watched it a couple times, and I gotta say, it looks great. Um, I kind of checked out of this franchise maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So the last film that they did was back in 2017. It was called The Last Night. Didn't get received that well, and so now we have another one. Okay, this one looks better. So this is based on. I grew up. I'm an '80s kid. Okay, I remember. Quick story. I remember going downstairs one Christmas morning, and the whole tree was just covered in presents, and they were all Transformers. I mean, it was everything from Optimus Prime to Bumblebee to Megatron to Starscream to Soundwave. It was everybody. And of course, these are $25 and $30 things at the time because they're metal. And it was just amazing. I loved them. I had all of the Transformers. I loved them all. So this one is a little different, though. Okay, so this is Beast Wars. I'm not too familiar with this. I know, of course, as you can see, okay, we have Optimus Primal. Okay, this one is a little different. So they're actually going up against another big bad, and it looks good. Peter Cullen is coming back, as you can see. Optimus Prime is returning, so that is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this one. So this comes out June 9th. So we're actually 3 weeks. So next week is Guardians. I can't even believe we're going to say that. And then 2 weeks after that, or about a month after that, we're going to get Transformers Rise of the Beast. And it looks magnificent, the trailer. I'm going to link all of these trailers down in the description box for you guys. So if you haven't seen them, you can watch them there, or you can, Google them, find them on YouTube yourself. I love this. I think it looks fantastic. I'm really curious to see what they're going to be able to do with all of these characters. And yeah, the fact, I think for me, okay, the fact that Peter Cullen, who is the original voice, so anybody who is an 80s guy like myself and is a Transformers nerd, Peter Cullen has voiced Optimus Prime all throughout the 80s. He did all of the television shows, and he's done all of the movies. So that is his claim to fame. He is the voice of Optimus Prime, and he's coming back, and that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be interesting to see how they integrate all of these different animals and creatures into it. And it's interesting because we have Dominique Fishback coming back, and we have Anthony Ramos, of course, so he was in one of them, and it just looks so much fun. What do you guys think about Transformers? And we're going to move on here in a minute, but what do you guys think about Transformers? Are you interested in the Transformers movie? Who's your favorite Transformer? Are you interested in any one of the Beast Wars? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Okay, so like I said, this is going to be a whole wrap-up of CinemaCon. So one of the trailers that we actually didn't get, okay, and I hate to toot my own horn, guys, but I've been saying for months and months and months because of the lack of marketing for the project, frankly. And they had a chance at the Super Bowl, and they didn't because, you had The Flash and you had Guardians, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. Then you had the Oscars, the biggest night of the year. And I said, wow, that's really curious they didn't do that. And then I said, what they're going to do is they're going to show a big chunk of it, or they're going to show the whole movie. And this was Paramount's last chance to do it. And I'm talking about Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. This movie, I knew I was kind of gloating to a couple people the other day because it was the extent of, I knew it was going to happen. This was the last chance we were going to get to see any kind of footage. So, so this comes from Variety, okay? And basically, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning debuts 20-minute car chase with Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell evading enemies through the streets of Rome. Ethan Hunt clearly does not want to die old and of natural causes. The IMF agent swings back into action in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and is based on the footage that Paramount brought to CinemaCon on Thursday. His alter ego, Tom Cruise, is once again putting it all on the line in service of keeping audiences on the edge of their seats. In the past, Cruise has hung on the side of skyscrapers and airplanes. This time, Cruise rides on a motorcycle off a cliff, as the one does to save the world. And in a 20-minute sequence that was screened for movie theater owners in Las Vegas on Thursday, he and Haley Atwell played a mysterious operator, evade multiple different antagonists while driving at breakneck speeds through the streets and alleys of Rome. Even the Spanish Steps make an appearance. Making things even tenser, Cruise and Atwell are handcuffed much throughout the chase, which find themselves jumping on and discarded motorcycles, police cars, and beat-up autos instead of the junkyard. The lengthy scene seems like Cruise's effort to top such iconic chases as those in The French Connection and Bullet, all while in the Colosseum looms in the distance. The audience at Caesar's Palace seemed to dug what was going on, gasping, applauding, and laughing. Yes, and it frequently was funny, along with every hairpin turn. Cruise did not attend CinemaCon in person as he had for the past two installments, because he's busy working on Dead Reckoning Part 2, and God only knows risking, his body. After the presentation, Paramount's executive huddled on the speakerphone lobby of the theater in Caesar's Palace to reassure Cruise that the sequence has been a huge hit with the audiences. They also make it a point of telling him that they let the audiences know that 20 minutes they showed were not the first part of the film. Christopher McQuarrie, who directed the previous two Mission Impossible films, returns, as do ensemble members Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Vin Rames, and Vanessa Kirby. And there's some interesting trivia I want to talk about in a couple minutes. That's not to say nothing of the menacing presence of Henry Zenerin. I believe I mispronounced his name. Forgive me. The shadowy government agent who stalked Hunt and his crew in the 1996 inaugural Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 opens July 14th during Paramount's CinemaCon presentation. The studio also teased trailers footage from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and Transformers Rise of the Beast, which we just spoke about. And CinemaCon is an annual event, exhibition industry trade show that is unfolding this week in Las Vegas. Attendances have seen presentations from all of the major studios, including Warner Brothers, Sony, Disney, and Universal. And we'll get to one from Universal in a couple minutes. But I wanted to touch on, this. So this is one of the perennial films. So my good friend Jeremy Fowler and I were talking prior to actually the Oscars on a space. And by the way, guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter, here you can actually do that. You're going to want to go to this. I'm sorry. Let me put this full screen for everybody. It's going to be Wannabe Rounder, and I'm always on there. And I always talk about movies and, have spaces occasionally and everything else. Come join me for all that good stuff. Anyways, what I was getting at is, that there had been nothing we had heard no promotional material from this Paramount at all about this. And it was the night after the Oscars. And I said, they have to do something because it's a huge film. And subsequently, I said, I'll bet you something happens tomorrow. And lo and behold, this is the poster that dropped. But it went completely under the radar because, let's face it, everybody was talking about what happened the other night before with the Oscars. So I felt, somebody sent me a tweet saying, Tom must have listened to you. But it was like the simple premise of this now being, this is where they're going to really do something. And, it's interesting because this is the only trailer. I want to actually take this away for a minute. So this is the only trailer that really, this is the shot of the still of the first and only trailer we've gotten for this movie. And it's fascinating because it's been almost a year. And, I was shocked to see, this. I mean, so there's a couple of things that, and this is one of the shots here, that the images that was put out. But, they're being caught by the police here. But it's interesting because if you look at what they've done, I think Tom Cruise hit a, he's obviously a genius marketer and everything else. But I think the thing is that he realized something. He struck a nerve. And it was this. He knew Top Gun was going to do money. He knew Top Gun was going to do bank. And he waited almost 18 months, at least a year, if not 18 months. And what ended up happening was it had legs. And it went on to gross almost $1.5 billion. And while that was different, it was still an action film. And that being said, he saw this and said, we need to, ramp it down dramatically. And because, we've always seen photos that have come out from sets, whether it's No Way Home or whether it's, Joker 2 or whatever it is. And there's been nothing. There have been no, this one was a still, but that's it. You've heard little tiny announcements, but nothing. And people have forgotten about it. And one thing Tom Cruise does is he does everything practical. Everything practical. And that's what made Top Gun Maverick so good. It's because he did everything practical. He could have used CGI, sure, but it wouldn't have been the same. All that being said, this is going to be huge. I'm telling you right now. And I think I said this to somebody the other day. I really believe this is going to make over $1 billion. Because once you get everybody up in a frenzy like this, and we still don't have a trailer, by the way. Think about this. Okay? We still don't have a trailer. They saw it at CinemaCon. We haven't seen it. My guess is this. A couple of things. Number one, either they're going to release this on Monday, okay, to the public because they want everybody to really talk about it more over the weekend. Or, so there have been hints that this is one of these trailers is going to be attached to Guardians of the Galaxy. And I said I could see Guardians of the Galaxy, but I would rather think Fast 10 because it is an action film and everything else. But I really, really suspect within 42, or not 42, but within 48 hours, if not that, it's going to be this weekend that you're going to see a trailer for Mission Impossible 2. Because there have been trailers to come out, and we'll talk about another one here in a couple minutes. It's one of those things where I think that we're only 46 days away from this film opening up. And I think that if you don't do something now, okay, the problem is that people are going to forget about it. And they'll go, oh, well, that was coming out? Oh, my God. So I think that that it's imperative that they need to do a hard push and everything else. I can't wait for this movie. I mean, the one trailer so let me backtrack a little bit. I just watched, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I just put it up because of Paramount's little presentation. I decided to put up the first of the many that I will be doing with several Mission Impossible rewatches. So I just put up Mission Impossible yesterday, and because Paramount was doing that, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. But I just watched Mission Impossible 2 last night, and I had seen it before, but it had always been the one film that was the lesser of the films. It's like a Quantum of Solace type of thing, if you will. And I know I didn't like it. And I understand it was done in 2000 and everything else. And I took notes on it, and I'll be recording that, down the road. But it was one of those things where I know why I didn't care for it. And I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. But yeah, I Mission Impossible is just, and I said this to somebody the other day. What would we be in Hollywood, or what would Hollywood be without Mission Impossible? Had that 1996 one not done well. Anyways, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited for Mission Impossible? Which Mission Impossible is your favorite? Who is your favorite? Let me know down in the comment box, and I'll get back to everybody. Okay, so we're moving on. So we move on from one that didn't have a trailer to Lionsgate. And Lionsgate had a couple of films, okay? Saw 10, which I'm really looking forward to in October. But this one was the one that really is going to do numbers. And that's The Hunger Games. So The Hunger Games actually premiered its first trailer. And that's Rachel Zegler. And so this is going to be a big it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be so this is a prequel now. I should say that. This is a prequel, and I think that I watched the trailer, and I got to say, I liked it. I don't know if it's for me, okay, but it's not a bad trailer. So it's one of those things where this is going to appeal to a whole brand new generation, and I think that when we see, because don't forget, I mean, she's a very good actress. Okay, she just doesn't get the recognition that she deserves, and I think that nonetheless, so I think it's going to do well. Okay, so this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, and said, "The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes gets a full trailer at CinemaCon. The Lionsgate adaptation of Susan Collins' novel will hit November 17th of this year. Ready to return to The Hunger Games? Lionsgate has dropped their first official trailer." And by the way, guys, as I said earlier, I'm going to be putting all of the links for the trailers in the description box so you guys can watch them. Lionsgate has dropped their first official trailer for The Hunger Games: Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes, the latest franchise installment in the Susan Collins prequel novel, a New York Times bestseller. The film stars Tom Blyth, Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, Hunter Schafer, Josh Andres Rivera, Jason Schwartzman, and Viola Davis for director Francis Lawrence. The prequel's logline from Lionsgate reads this: Years before he would be known as the tyrannical president of Pan Am, 18-year-old Snow, played by Bryce, is the last hope for the fading lineage of a once proud family that has fallen from grace in a post-war capital. With the 10th annual Hunger Games fast approaching, the young Snow is alarmed when he's assigned to mentor Lucy Gray Bird, who's played by Rachel Zegler, of course. The girl tribute from impoverished District 12. But after Lucy Gray commands all Pan Am's attention by defiantly singing during the reaping ceremony, Snow thinks he might be able to turn the odds into their favor. Uniting their instincts for showmanship and newfound political savvy, Snow and Lucy's race against time to survive will ultimately reveal who is a songbird and who is a snake. Franchise producer Nina Jacobson and Brad Simpson are producing the prequel along with Lawrence, who helmed The Hunger Games Catching Fire and Mockingjay Part 1 and 2. And Michael Arnott and Michael Leslie adapted Collins' novel. Jim Miller, Tim Palin, and Mika Saikago serves as EPs on this. Okay, let's talk about it. As I said, I think this is going to be big. It's going to be really, really big for, what it is. Now, as I watched the trailer, okay, this is one of the shots, I gotta say, I love the retro look. Now, obviously, this is before Candace. I love the retro look, though. This is supposed to be a young Stanley Tucci. It's not Stanley Tucci, I shouldn't say that, but is the MC. It's the MC of the Hunger Games, who eventually in the later films was played by Stanley Tucci. This is not Stanley Tucci. But, it's interesting to see we're going back to this again. And, I think that, I think this is going to do good. I mean, is it my cup of tea? No. I watched the Hunger Games. Okay. I liked them. Okay. But that made Jennifer Lawrence a star. Now, I'm not saying Rachel Zegler is not a star already, because she is. But, I think we've gotten to the point, too, where we're just doing prequels, a lot of prequels. And that being said, I don't know if this was really a needed or necessary thing. It had been some years since we had Mockingjay Part 1 and 2. I hope it does well. Look, I've always said this. Just because I don't think a movie is going to do well doesn't mean I don't want it to succeed. Okay? There's a difference. That being said, I think that this is going to do... Now, actually, it was interesting. She's on Twitter, and she actually said this shot here was completely ad-libbed. This was not in the script. So it's fascinating when you hear these things coming from the stars and go, oh, really? So, yeah, I think this is it's gonna do well, though. I do, because I think people still, IPs. This is an IP that when basically this came out in 2012, it was huge, absolutely huge, and I just don't know stories. I don't want to compare it to Rogue One. Because Rogue One is a different animal because it was in between episodes 3 and 4. That was a story. This is like another Hunger Games. I mean, that's exactly what it is, Lucy, instead of Candace. So, I don't know. Anyways, what do you guys think? Are you excited for this new, Hunger Games film? Did you read the book by Suzanne Collins? Are you going to go see the movie? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to everybody.